step I take, I move my truth. Every time they tell me stop, I use every comment, hate that makes my fuel. Gather up my energy and boom, I hear them talking, saying the way that I move is so reckless. That is a part of my mind I've been blessed with, giving my blood so I am relentless.
This is the Keep Hammering Collective. I'm joined by Paul Skenes. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, appreciate you having me, brother.
I cannot believe I have you in Springfield, Oregon, and we did a lift run shoot.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah, well, I'm pumped. I mean, I was thinking as we were sitting here, have you done a lot of podcasts?
A couple, nothing like this though. They've been sports podcasts and
like whose podcast?
The last one I did, I think was Barstool. Pardon my take.
Yeah.
Done a couple other ones with LSU and that kind of thing. Yeah, but they've all been sports podcasts.
Gotcha. So besides, let's see, well, is the Two Bears, One Cave? That's your go-to podcast, right?
Yeah, they're short, they're funny.
Yeah.
Good to listen to lighten up the mood.
And you're a big Bert Kreischer fan?
Yeah, Bert and Tom. Yeah, I like them both. Listen to Shane Gillis. Everything I can get from that guy is gold. Rogan, Goggins, Huberman, all those guys. It's all good stuff to listen to.
Yeah. So who's like your favorite inspirational follow? Is that like a Goggins or who? What mindset do you want to emulate?
Yeah. There's a lot you can learn from all of them. The one that I think I resonate most with is just, Tim Grover, just with the sports background and everything he's done and obviously basketball, but he's had a hand in all sports, had experience with everything. So that one I think is the one that I can resonate most with, but it's always good to get different perspectives too. So
yeah.
Your podcast, Goggins, Rogan has some really good guys on there. So just as much as I can get, really.
Yeah, I liked Grover's book. Is it Relentless?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, his Jordan stories and Kobe stories never get old.
Yeah, it's pretty, for me, it's pretty on par with what you would expect from MJ and Kobe.
Love it.
And those are the elite performers in sports. So those are the guys that you want to look at and emulate, I guess.
Yeah, that mindset. That's what I think. I don't know. There's not very many athletes or people that have walked the earth that have that mindset, that ultimate competitor, win at all costs or any cost mindset that Kobe and Jordan had. I love it. Yeah,
and I think the cool part, like I said, just trying to get as much from people that think differently too. You see it everywhere. It's not common by any means, but you see it with sports are easy, but you see it with the military, business, everything like that. And I'm not too super well versed in business or anything like that, but I would imagine that the top end CEOs are think similar, and and then there are champions like yourself that are doing it on a daily basis. That if you didn't have the podcast or anything like that, you'd not a whole lot of people would know,
right?
But it's great that you're sharing it and lifting everybody else up too.
Well, the reason why you're here and why anybody is a guest on the podcast is I'm like kind of drawn to outliers no matter what they do. And it's kind of the point you're making is like, I don't care if it's business. I've had business people in here, scientists, of course, like Huberman, Dr. Rhonda Patrick, Andy Galpin, which I talked to you about, a human performance type guy. And it's just like anybody who's at the top of their field or their game or whatever, you can learn something from because it took something special for them to get there to where when you say their name, people are like, oh yeah, I've heard of that guy or that girl. It's like to get to that place, you have to be a winner essentially. And to be a winner, you can learn something from them is how I look at it.
Yeah. And there's obviously a certain amount of expertise that you have to have, in any field. You have that expertise as, in bow hunting. I probably have that expertise in baseball. But then, you can have as much expertise as you want, but if you're not an elite worker, if you don't think differently, I think that's how I think about it, you're not going to really achieve everything that you can.
Mm-hmm. So in baseball, who has that mindset that you came up following or that you see now? Or does anybody have what you're going after as far as like your mental approach to the game?
It's cool to be around, and it's I've had some coaches who, Grover talks about cleaners, closers and coolers, that kind of thing. And you can't have a team full of cleaners, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is, how I think about it. Hopefully it, it resonates with other people too. But, and I've had coaches that say that, you can't have more than 2 cleaners in a locker room, and they're, I've had people tell me that there are, 8 cleaners in the whole league, that kind of thing. And I guess that it depends on how you quantify and measure and that kind of thing, what a cleaner is, what someone with that elite mindset is.
Do you know, like, just for basic definitions, like what he's talking about when he says that, like for the listeners, like what's a closer or a cleaner? Like, do you know, could you say it right now?
It's been a while since I've read the book and seen his actual definitions of it, but
is it like at the end of the game, you knew Jordan was going to have the ball in his hands?
Yeah, that kind of thing. And you see, like, I think the point that he was trying to make is, you hear the ultimate closer, mm-hmm. right? And his point, I guess, is like, well, where was that person, the rest of the game? Mm-hmm. Is kind of, and the cleaners are there the entire game.
Gotcha. It's
and hopefully I'm not botching
butchering it.
The explanation of it all, but that's kind of how I understand it. And cleaners are just like everything they do is, to another level.
Yeah.
But the lines are so blurred, so it's tough to, to really measure it, I guess.
Right. Yeah. I think we know, when we talk about competitors, like we said, I think I put Brady in there too. He seems like, different sport, football, basketball, baseball. I guess you could look at it however you want, but Brady seemed like you'd want the ball in his hands at the end of the game. Yeah. And you like your odds. And same thing with Jordan, Kobe. And they weren't looking to really pass it off to anybody. Everybody knew who was going to take the last shot, and it was generally going to be them every time. And it's just like, are you good enough to stop them? Yeah. Or can you stop Brady on a drive? Or, can you get a hit off you when the game's on the line? Those moments are probably that's where every elite competitor wants to excel. Yeah. And I think that's what the challenge is, that everybody says that they want to be in those moments, but the challenge really is, well, did you do enough to deserve to be in that moment? Did mm-hmm. you do enough to warrant, excelling in those moments, that kind of thing? Because you see people who show up who, get the big hit multiple times, and it's like, okay, like that dude's clutch. He has that clutch gene or whatever. Right. And I guess going back to that closer thing, like, well, they got the hit. You want them in there when, to get the big hit, but where mm-hmm. are they the rest of the time? And like I said, the lines are really blurred, but you see it a lot. To get to the major leagues, you have to be an elite competitor, an elite performer. Yeah. And then the bar just keeps moving higher, which is, it's cool. And I've seen a lot of different levels in the past year and a half, from college to, each level in the minor leagues, and then obviously the big leagues too. And the bar, obviously it only, keeps going up. And then, to be the best at each of those levels, the bar keeps going up, and there's always another level you can get to. So you're pretty much satisfied with where you're at right now. You made the big show, and you're good now? That's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah. Yeah. No, there's like, I love that. I mean, I don't know. You'd probably say it doesn't matter, but like winning the NL Rookie of the Year, that would be pretty sick. I like that you want to be the best, basically, is what, in talking to you and spending time with you, it's that mindset about how can you get an edge, which is what I like. I think I asked this earlier, but so who in baseball has had that, like, if you had to emulate yourself, that your mindset, have you seen somebody that has it when you're when you were a kid as a fan, or now do you see it? Who do you look to?
Yeah, I mean, one of the coolest things about my experiences that I've gotten to have in the last 6 or 7 months is like, these guys kind of predated me a little bit. I probably watched them when I was 5 or 6, but we talked about Pedro a little bit.
Yeah.
Randy Johnson, Roger Clemens, those kind of guys. Nolan Ryan's obviously, well before my time, but so I've gotten to meet a few of those guys and kind of pick their brains a little bit. And there are guys within the game now who have that also, who are going to be the Randy Johnsons and Pedros and Roger Clemens for the next generation.
Yeah.
Who I've gotten to talk to. And so it's been really cool to, cause it is a brotherhood, and they're always trying to, build the game, grow the game. And so, being able to do interviews with those guys or just meet them and, speak candidly. The cool thing is getting to speak to those guys kind of away from the cameras and really, get to, dive in with them to where it's not kind of this person, because you always put on a persona whenever there's a camera on. And, so getting to meet some of those guys when it's just, two guys talking is, you can't walk away from there not learning something. It's just such a cool, humbling experience that, when I was 15, 16 years old, I never would have thought I would have had those opportunities.
Yeah. And hopefully in those candid conversations, there is a nugget you can get that you'll always remember. It doesn't always happen, but if it did, man, that'd be so special.
Yeah. I mean, at the very least, you're walking away from there like, dang, that was cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're never going to get anything that's going to be like, I'm going to change everything about the way that I'm doing. But,
based on that one conversation.
Yeah, exactly. And that's not how it works. But, walking away from each of those conversations and, like you said, the little nugget, it's cool to get.
Yeah. I was thinking when you were listing off those names of people who you followed or admired or like to learn from, those were all, I mean, maybe other than Randy Johnson, even though he did win one, but they were all pretty much postseason legends. Do you think to be an icon in the sport, you have to get to the World Series? You have to get a win in the World Series? Or can you be this legendary figure without having that?
Yeah.
Because when you think of Pedro, I think of like big games.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In October.
Yeah. And it's, the major league season is a gauntlet is what I've learned. It's so long.
Yeah.
And now, there are probably a lot of people out there who are watching the playoffs right now who maybe didn't watch a whole lot of, regular season ball. And I was kind of that way.
Yeah.
For part of my life too, like, these are the games that, that matter, but you only get there by, cause every game in the regular season matters. Like, I'm not in the postseason right now.
I know. How hard is that to take?
It's tough. Especially it's, I'm going to start throwing, I'm going to start my ramp up for next season, before the World Series is even over. So that's a tough pill to swallow.
I bet.
The hardest thing I think at the end of the year was that there's burnout, with the work that you do, and because it like I said, it is such a gauntlet, and showing up and doing basically the same thing every single day for 162 games in like 180 or 190 days. It's tough, more mentally than physically. And so to be honest, I got tired of the work, but at some point the ends, justify the means.
Yeah.
And being able to go out there and compete and keep competing.
Yeah.
You'll in order to do that, you got to do the work.
Right.
So
can't have one without the other.
You can't have one without the other. Right. So I wasn't ready to, to hang it up for the year. I was definitely tired of the work, but I'll keep doing the work if it means I can keep pitching for sure.
Because you had good starts at the end, didn't you? At the end of the season? Yeah,
no, finished strong, and that's a goal to finish stronger than you started.
Right.
And whether I did that or not, the results were obviously really good, but that's not something I think about a ton. Is the process, getting strike one, getting 2 out of the first 3, that kind of stuff, which is nitty gritty baseball talk that you may or may not understand, but that's the stuff that really matters. And that
was 2 out of the first 3?
Two out of the first 3 pitches in every at bat are strikes. So 0-2, 1-2 counts basically.
Okay, that's the goal every time.
Yeah,
to stay ahead.
Yeah, every single at bat, try to get that strike 1. 2 out of the first 3, that kind of thing. Competitive pitches. Living in the strike zone, that kind of thing. And those are process oriented goals that are easily quantifiable, because it is kind of a game of chance where you can make a really good pitch and they're still going to hit it. You can make a terrible pitch and they're going to swing and miss. But those kind of things are pretty easily quantifiable, I think. And that I do think that got better as the year went on. So definitely a tough pill to swallow.
So how, if you want the first 2 of the 3 to be strikes, you got to come over the plate with something.
Yeah, especially in the big leagues. That was an adjustment for me.
So, and the good hitters know this, that they're going to get a pitch to hit. I mean, I don't know if it's going to be hittable, but it's going to be a strike because they know your mindset. So how do you win that at bat when you know they're good? You have to get the strike over the plate. So how do you win it?
Yeah, I think largely what hitters are trying to do is shrink the strike zone, and what pitchers are trying to do is expand the strike zone.
Okay.
If you can get a chase, because if you chase, you swing and miss.
So
a lot more than, there's a lot more swing and miss outside of the zone than inside the zone.
Yeah.
But you're getting a lot fewer swings outside the zone than inside the zone. And big league hitters just control the zone so well. So having good stuff definitely helps. Pitches that are faster or move more, that surprise the hitter, that kind of thing. That definitely helps. So yeah, without really getting into it too much, all that stuff helps. And then just forcing swing decisions.
Right.
Like I said, the chase, because hitters will chase if you set it up.
And do you know what a tendency of each hitter? I mean, do you know in that much detail? This guy, if he chases, it's usually a pitch like this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you get that. There's advanced data like that you can get before every series, before each game that you're pitching. You have scouting report meetings and with the catchers and the pitching coach, and we have a game planning coach, and we go over all that. So we get pretty detailed, and then every guy's different too.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to pitch the same way as a soft throwing lefty. So you can't attack hitters the same way because we don't have the same stuff. So
right.
Just having self-awareness about what your stuff is, where your stuff plays, and that kind of thing. That's kind of first and foremost. It's almost like 70-30. My stuff versus the hitter's plan, weakness, that kind of thing. So
okay.
A lot more of our of our stuff and our plan goes into it than determining what the hitter's plan and their what they execute on goes into it.
You're playing your game more than theirs. So I'm not saying what pitch is your favorite pitch, but what of your pitches surprises the hitters do you think the most? Like what do you see them and they're like, fuck, where'd that come from?
Man, I don't know. Maybe the sinker. I think my sinker is it's just a different pitch. It's not a pitch that a lot of people have.
How's yours different?
It just moves more down, I think. And I don't throw it as hard as my four seam, but it moves down more than other sinkers.
Down to the right.
Yeah, and it just gets under barrels. Four seams you're trying to get above the barrel. Sinkers you're trying to get below the barrel. So
the four seam rises.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or the perception of rise.
Okay.
Yeah.
How so?
Because just with gravity, there's going to be, inherently there's going to be drop as it goes to the plate. But I guess compared to other fastballs, from the same slot at the same velocity, that kind of thing, it's going to rise more, or be flatter, that kind of thing. So.
And they have the same rotation?
My four seam and my sinker?
Yeah.
No. We have movement plots that show where the pitches are compared to basically a bullet spin, or something that doesn't have the effects of gravity is 0-0. And so the four seam moves up and arm side compared to that. And the two seam kind of just moves right compared to that.
Gotcha.
So yeah, without getting into the weeds too much on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you change your arm angle at all?
I try not to. I might change it a little bit. But
Exactly the same?
Yeah, you try to keep it all the same.
Okay. Gotcha. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. This drives me crazy because I'll be honest, I don't watch every regular season game, but once it gets to October,
Yep.
and it's like, I love where, I know this is the case for you on every single pitch, every single game, but where every single pitch matters, and it's like, then you see like an ump might make a call and it should have been striking as a ball. That changes everything. How frustrating is that if you make the perfect pitch, you paint the corner, then you're behind in the count. And your goal obviously was to the first three, you want strikes. So what if you make that perfect pitch, it goes ball, so now you're in the hole.
Just got to execute. Everything always circles back to executing for me. So,
but it puts a little bit of pressure. If that first one is a ball, then you're like, now I got to really come out. You don't want to go 0-2.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. No, it's in my opinion, it all evens out over the course of the season. Balls get called strikes and strikes get called balls. So.
Yeah.
But in the postseason, it's best of 3, best of 5, best of 7. So you don't have as much. You don't have wiggle room. You got to just execute, and everybody needs to go out there and do their jobs. And
yeah.
So those probably hurt a little bit more in the postseason. During the regular season, everybody gets pissed off and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But, I think it all evens out because you lose a game in May, you can it sucks. You can probably make it up, and later in the year, team gets hot, that kind of thing. So I think it all evens out, but it doesn't all even out in the postseason.
Yeah, yeah. Who's been the best big game pitcher you've seen that you remember?
Oh. The one that probably jumps to the front of my mind right now is Aaron Nola, who he seems like he always shows up in the postseason. LSU guy.
Yeah.
I think Verlander's probably up there. I can't remember.
I loved the Schilling performance with the blood on the sock.
Yeah.
Remember that one?
I don't know, what was that, 2004?
I don't know. Were you born?
I was born. Yeah. I don't remember ever watching that. I went to the Hall of Fame when I was like 11 or 12, and I saw the bloody sock in the Hall of Fame.
That was pretty sick.
Yeah. I remember the cool things, like I remember Chris Sale, running out. He's closing game 7 or whatever it was, in Dodger Stadium when he was with the Red Sox, on, I don't know, 2 or 3 days rest or something like that. Those moments are awesome. He's closing out the World Series. Those are cool. I don't want to misspeak with who's the best big game pitcher I've ever seen, but gosh, I remember Jake Arrieta when the Cubs were winning, and who was the Royals ace those years? I can't remember.
Yeah.
I have a terrible memory. But,
it's all good.
Yeah, those are the games you want to watch for sure.
Yeah,
offense is great, but for me as a pitcher and all that, it's, you want to see someone go 7, 8, 9 shutty in the postseason.
I can't remember if it seems like it was the Red Sox, and I don't know if it was Schilling. I can't remember, but you always kind of do the math. You're like, well, they're down, but if they could get a win here, then it goes back to Boston or whatever it is, and then they could bring this guy back on short rest or whatever, and then in Game 7, anything can happen. I love just stuff like that where it gets crazy.
Yeah, they love saying that. Game 7, anything can happen.
Anything can, but it's so exciting because every freaking pitch matters.
Yeah,
I don't know, pretty amazing. I've seen. Then this is before you were born probably, but when Kirk Gibson hit that homer where he's limping around. Did you ever see that one?
I've seen clips of it.
Yeah.
So many times.
Yeah. He's like, could barely run or whatever, but they put him up to pinch hit, I think. And he drove one out.
Yeah.
Won the game.
Yeah. Doing the fist pump around the bases.
Yes, that one.
Yeah.
That
Iconic.
One. Oh, God.
Yeah.
But then even back before that, so I don't remember what year it was, but we had, this was the PED era, but Bunts, Sosa, McGuire just jacking homers all the time. It was such a great time to be a fan.
Yeah.
I
grew up an Angels fan, and I remember videos of Bonds hitting home runs in the World Series against the Angels.
Yeah. And it's just, when Bonds was going after that record when he got 73, I think, you'd be watching a regular TV. They would cut in for at the bottom would be his at bat.
Yeah.
Every time. Because it's like, I don't know how often he came up, but he was hitting homers that's a lot of homers.
Yeah.
Like per at bat. And then, if I remember, it seemed like if the pitcher made even a hint of a mistake, it's freaking gone.
Yeah.
I mean, is there anybody like that right now that you can't make any mistake?
Yeah. And I think it's, no, I mean, you see it with Ohtani, you see it with Judge, Soto. Freddie Freeman is a tough at bat. Who else? Arenado is an unbelievable hitter.
Do you like going against those guys?
It's cool.
Yeah,
it is. Yeah,
do you like the challenge of best first? Well, I don't know if you were saying you're the best, but you're right there. Is the best against best? Is that exciting?
Yeah. And I gave up a home run to Ohtani early in the year. And they asked me about a post game, and I was just like, yeah, it's big on big. That's how I think about it. What
was the pitch?
Fastball.
Oh,
I'm going to get beat at my best. He's going to do what he will with it. There's always the risk when you face anybody, but especially those guys.
How fast was it? Do you remember?
I don't remember. It was hard. I think it was a 3-2 fastball up in the zone.
Oh.
We'd shown him too many fastballs already, but it's what happens. It's the game.
Yeah. I mean, if he couldn't have caught up with it and struck out, that'd be cool too, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
But he won that one.
Yeah, stuff happens.
Yeah, yeah. But you, that challenge you like, or you just like to blow the doors off anybody?
Yeah, I mean, the challenge is always good. And there's usually at least one or two per lineup, because big league lineups are so good, so deep. And there's always at least one person in every lineup that you can't get away with mistakes, really.
Yeah.
And so facing those guys, your focus, your attention is heightened a little bit. You want to execute every pitch, because if you don't, you're gonna pay a little bit.
Be a highlight.
Yeah, it's gonna be running on TV.
What's so like on that one, he hit the home. What's your mindset after that pitch?
Whatever, get the next one.
Yeah. Just right back to work.
Yeah, execute.
Yeah.
Everything circles back to execution.
Yeah. Do you think guys make a bad pitch and then it bleeds over into the next at bat?
Yeah, and I think it gets better with every level. I think, because guys are in the big leagues for a number of reasons. Whether it's talent, mentality. Because there are guys that you see in there that are like, that have had long careers in the big leagues, and they're like, dang, how are they still pitching? And they just have an unbelievable mentality, to get hitters out. And they still have good stuff, and because obviously if you don't have good stuff, you're not going to get hitters out. But a great mentality, gets you really far, and everything. But there are definitely some guys that are emotional pitchers that get caught up in turning the page and that kind of thing. And but you see a lot of different ways to compete, and that's not necessarily a wrong way. Because you give up a home run and then your velo spikes up, your execution gets better, that kind of thing. So
what's a velo?
Velocity.
Oh, gotcha.
Your throwing velocity. Yeah.
Okay.
You start throwing your pitches harder. Yeah, exactly. So, you're in the big leagues either way. If you're successful in the big leagues, there's, nobody can point at you and say you're doing it wrong. You're having success in the big league. So
yeah, that mentality I think of. When the Patriots played Atlanta in the Super Bowl, I remember he threw this interception. I'm pretty sure it was a pick six, and he was on all fours, like kind of dove and then was on all fours. There goes the DB or whoever intercepted it, and they went down 28-3. They'd be really easy to get down, but obviously everybody knows the history. Patriots come back and won it, but just like that attitude is. So you make a mistake on pitch or you throw an interception, you can't let it affect the next pitch or the next drive, in football. And Brady was so good at that because it would be really easy to be like, oh, what a fucking disaster, down 28-3. But with that mindset, he was able to turn it around and come back and lead his team to a win. Yeah. Incredible, huh?
Yeah. I think there's a lot to be said about, just staying here the whole time.
Yeah.
Just staying level, not riding the highs and the lows. And I definitely rode the roller coaster a little bit as a hitter. There's a reason I'm not hitting anymore, but yeah, definitely a lot more even keeled as a pitcher. And that's, kind of my style, I think. And again, it's not for everybody, but those are the guys that I try to, emulate, I guess, that I, look at.
Yeah. How, like as a hitter, how was your attitude different?
I wasn't very good at taking, I struck out. I took it into the next at bat, start chasing pitches and that kind of thing. It's such a failure driven sport, especially as a hitter. Right. Like, if you can't turn the page, you're not going to succeed no matter who you are. So yeah,
even the best, what is it? It's like not going to be 4 out of 10.
Yeah.
And that's 400, so 3 out of 10. So you're failing 70% of the time.
Yeah. And you're a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I know. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's what a sport. I don't know. It was able to watch you, didn't watch you pitch. I've seen you on TV pitch. I've never seen you pitch in person, but your mentality, I just love the competition part of it. And I want the Pirates to be good though.
Yeah.
I want you to get to the World Series.
Yeah. No, well, I think we got a good group.
Just make that happen.
Just got to make it happen. Exactly. Got to go take it.
Montana Knife Company was founded by Josh Smith, one of the world's most experienced master bladesmiths. Josh has been making knives for 30 years, and there's something really special in supporting companies that are made in the USA. The blades are manufactured and shipping straight from Montana. Montana knives carry a multi-generational warranty and free lifetime sharpening. They're designed, tested, and built by hunters. MKC is a hunting knife company first and foremost. MKC is unmatched and have the sharpest knives out of the box and the easiest knives to sharpen. It's been really fun to watch a company explode as one of the fastest growing companies in the knife space. Don't be fooled. They're still a small company and just hired their 55th employee and are looking to hire about 50 more in the next year or so. So if you live in Montana, tell them Cam sent you. MKC knives sell out within minutes of being released. So head over to montanaknifecompany.com. That is the best way to find out when they have knives available. Use code CAM10 for 10% off your first order. My favorite blade is a Blackfoot 2.0. Montana Knife Company, working knives for working people. I'd like to welcome Grizzly Coolers to the sponsorship of not only the podcast, but my hunt lifestyle. I couldn't be more thrilled that they are an American-made company that supplies durable, hard-sided coolers and hunting blinds. As you guys know, the meat from every one of my hunts means the world to me, my family, and friends. Meat storage and temperature control is of the utmost importance in transferring game from the hunt to your freezer, and there's nothing better than Grizzly products. The coolers are roto-molded, built for performance, field-tested, and guaranteed for a lifetime. Grizzly also has a wide variety of gear for all your outdoor adventure and training needs. Followers of the podcast get an exclusive 20% off of everything using code KEEPHAMMERING at grizzlycoolers.com upon checkout. Again, that's use code KEEPHAMMERING at checkout. So the question I was thinking about earlier when we were lifting is favorite baseball movie. And then also, or did you come up with one yet?
I think Field of Dreams has to be it because it's just such a, like the romance of baseball, it's just an iconic movie with, iconic players from, the 1920s, 1930s, that kind of thing. Obviously, he goes to Fenway, which is just one of the cathedrals of baseball, really.
Yeah.
And it's just all around just the romance of baseball, like how much it means to a lot of people. It's tough to pick one, because there are a lot of other really good ones that are humorous and show, kind of some of the other parts of baseball. But that's like, I think that one kind of encapsulates the game, pretty well.
My favorite, Moneyball.
Yeah.
Have you seen Moneyball?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. I like that. I don't know if that's really how the business of baseball is, but do you remember like when they're cutting players and things like that? I think, Brad Pitt, who was he playing? Billy Bean.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, just how he's dealing with players. I mean, it was business, but I think sometimes fans forget how much of a business it is. You guys probably never forget, but yeah, made some tough decisions, and I love that movie.
Yeah, no, it's a good one. And business, it's a kid's game. We're playing it, because we love it. And, I don't know what else I'd do, but there is inherently that business side of it. People are, trying to make money and that kind of thing, which is, reflected in that movie. And he's figuring out how to do it in a cost-effective manner. And so definitely some good insight into that side of baseball, other than the, like I said, the romance of it all.
Yeah.
Now there was some romance in it. They won, 21 or 22 straight, or however many it was, did. Which is, an all-time streak, and it's pretty cool to look at, and think about. But, that's a good one. That one's insightful.
Yeah, I remember, I think Art Howe was a manager, and he was like the old school guy, remember? And he had his players he was going to play. How accurate do you think that is on like personalities of managers and who they're select? And maybe we can't even answer that, but it's just like, I could see you got these guys. I think it wasn't Jason Giambi. I think it was his brother, but they ended up cutting him, and he was kind of a big name for that team. That's got to be tough. The business part of baseball, right? Yeah. I mean, how involved have you seen anything like that? Have you not really noticed just being a rookie, or? Yeah, I've noticed it a little bit, just more so with guys like talking about, we played the Royals, and other guys are talking about Adam Frazier's on the Royals, and he was with the Pirates for a good bit. And so guys are talking about how they, miss him. They love playing with him, that kind of thing. And I never got a, personal relationship with him or anything, but kind of what I said about the brotherhood of baseball, like it is cool to be playing against some of these guys. You see Ohtani, and he tips his cap, that kind of thing, before every at bat. There's just some mutual respect there, and who knows, like these guys could get traded to the Pirates, guys could get traded away from the Pirates, and we're playing against them, and that kind of thing. And you play the game for long enough, you play for different teams, that kind of thing, you get around a lot of different people, and it really does make it even more of a brotherhood. I've been in the game for 6 months, really, but I could see that with some of my teammates, like how much they care for guys that we were playing against, and it's because of the business side of baseball, but you make friendships and that kind of thing, which is something that I'm really looking forward to. How that it seems hard though, like the teamwork part. I get it in the professional sports. You want that brotherhood, but also it's like you're only judged on what you've done, essentially. So you might have this brotherhood with the teammates, but if you're batting $150, it doesn't matter how good a teammate you are, does it? No, and it sucks because it doesn't matter how good of a teammate you are, and they're gonna say, hey, you're getting sent down, you're getting traded, you're getting cut, whatever it is. And so that's the heartbreaking part of it. Like, dang, I wish he could have stuck around. I wish I could have played with him longer. Yeah. But that's the business side of baseball. Yeah. What do you think makes a good teammate? Oh man. Well, because you can control yourself. How are you a good teammate to the other guys?
I think first and foremost, just controlling what you can control, like with the work you do, showing up every day and doing your job. I think like, cause it sucks, the job is to win baseball games. Right. And so,
but that's only every 5 days for you.
Yeah. And so, and then in the time between, I'm doing the work to get ready to pitch, every 5th day. But
so when you say showing up to work on days you're not pitching, that's doing your training, doing your everything else, right? Because you're still showing up to work. It's just not, you're not technically punching in to get on the mound, but it's still work. Right?
Yeah. And I think, it starts there. That's the absolute minimum, to make it to the big leagues, right? Because you're going to get to the show because of what you can do on the field. And then you get there and this isn't to say that you change everything that you do once you get there, but, then within those 5 days, there's things that you can do to help get other people prepared, whether it's conversations or, I guess just, making everybody around you better is a good way to think about it too. So, I had some really cool people this year who weren't super vocal, but I got to watch them work every day and learn from them. And we would have conversations whenever it came up. But, being able to watch them work and go about their business, made me better. So it's making the team better, and helping me, do my job better. And hopefully I'm helping them do their job better, ideally. But, I think it all, goes back to controlling what you can control.
Yeah. I don't know. I haven't been obviously in that situation, but one of my weaknesses is if I see something I don't agree with, I say something, and like that causes issues sometimes. But
maybe that's not a weakness though.
I don't know. Some people, like if they get offended or think you're a dick or whatever, is it helping? But it's just like, I don't know. Anytime anybody's ever been honest with me about something, and I might like push back because nobody likes to be judged, but then you go, if you're reflective, you can go away and be like, fuck, actually right.
Yeah.
So, how hard is that with people? Because you're young coming in there. Do you mostly just try to just learn and absorb, or do you ever offer feedback if you see something?
That's pretty much what this year looked like, is just learning and absorbing. Just because, there's obviously the on-field stuff, and you can learn about your own process through another player, watching what they're doing. Hey, why do you throw this pitch, or how do you throw this pitch, and that kind of thing, and learning from that. And those conversations are never going to stop, but there's a lot of other stuff like, how you travel, how you show up to the field every day, how, just being a pro, that kind of thing. And there's a lot of learning on that end that I did this year, and that there is to do. But, so that's what this year looked like, for the most part for me. And next year is not going to look the same. I don't know exactly what it's going to look like for me next year, but, that's, pretty much how it went this year.
Gotcha. So how self-assessment on this year, how'd you do?
I learned a lot.
Yeah,
for sure. I think it was good because I was in big league spring training, pitched against some big leaguers there, but spring training isn't an accurate assessment of where you are. I think just because you're facing hitters who are trying to work on their own stuff, you're trying to work on your own stuff. So spring training is just different, no doubt. And to be honest, the situation I was in this year was different than a lot of other people as they were coming through. Because they didn't, tell me exactly when I was going to debut. I, had a good feeling that I was going to debut this year. I just didn't know whether it was going to be, April, May, June, that kind of thing. And it kind of became clear as the debut, came closer. But, and so, starting in AAA was good because it allowed me to ramp up, allowed me to learn how to face these hitters, these elite hitters. And there are a lot of big league hitters that are in AAA, whether they're rehabbing or they're, down there because they're just trying to find it a little bit, that kind of thing. So just learning how to pitch to those guys and then get to the big leagues, and you're constantly, learning. The biggest thing I think is that the game doesn't change. It's just people change, hitters get better, pitchers get better, that kind of thing. And then you just have to adjust how you're executing each pitch. But if you have big league stuff, you have big league stuff.
Yeah.
And you should be in the big leagues.
So what'd you learn? Like you said, there was adjustment at AAA pitching there. Like what was the difference between there and college?
Hitters can execute their plan more often, I think, and they have better plans, because and they have better eyes. Like the mechanics of the game are better in AAA than they are in college. Now there are guys that are really toolsy, in college, and this year, Wyatt Langford broke with Texas, and Dylan, was my teammate at LSU. He was in the big leagues this year, and there are a couple of other guys from our draft last year who got to the big leagues this year, which shows that guys' tools in college, because it's not like they, made leaps and bounds in the off season or during the season. They just kind of learned the game a little bit better.
Right.
Their plan got better and that kind of thing. So guys' tools in college, not everybody, but guys' tools in college are pretty dang good. And then it's a matter of like learning the game, I think. So I know it's kind of the same thing for me. Now hitting and pitching are very different. The growth period and the adjustment period is very different. So, but yeah, it was just how I was executing each pitch. Like, you can't throw the fastball that's 2 balls off and expect it to get called a strike anymore because the umpires are better. So, you got to be more on the white over the plate, and then, learning what hitters are trying to do, reading hitters, that kind of thing. And that's a never ending process. I think the thing that I was most pleased with was just going out there and, no matter what, just executing to the highest level that I could. But outing to outing, just learning more about facing hitters and learning more about the league.
So what was your self-assessment like out of 10?
Probably like an 8.5.
8.5?
I think.
So good. I mean, ERA under 2 is pretty amazing. Is that better than what you expected? What did you expect of yourself?
I didn't have any like numerical expectations really, because I didn't know what to expect on the ERA side, on the strikeouts, the walk percentage, any of that. Like I just didn't know what to expect. It's just go out there and compete to the highest level every single day. That's
a pretty. Seems like it'd be. Well, maybe it's not unique, but baseball's so analytic, numbers on everything. So like for you to say like you just want to compete, that is kind of refreshing to hear. I'm assuming I don't know how other people feel, but like there's a number on everything you guys do. But I would say your ERA was elite, and I know your strikeouts per 9 I think were way up there, right, compared to other people. But I was just curious about how you thought, if you did you leave stuff on the table you could have done better at? You felt like, man, for my first year, I think I kicked ass. 8.5, I think it's pretty good. You felt pretty good about your year, right?
Yeah, and I think there's some low-hanging fruit to get better for next year. On the execution side, the stuff side, there's some stuff that I can do to, refine my pitches and pitch qualities, that kind of thing. But like I said, at the end of the day, it's just, go out there and compete to the highest level that I know how to. So I didn't have, and I don't think I'll have any expectations going forward about, what numbers I want to accomplish and that kind of thing. Other than, and there are some numbers, like the early and ahead percentage, the 2 out of 3, those numbers matter more to me, I think, than ERA and strikeout percentage and that kind of thing.
Gotcha.
Because they're process oriented numbers and give you a good indication. If you
do the 2 out of 3, you're going to have probably the other numbers are going to be good.
Yeah, they're going to take care of themselves. Yeah. Everything's going to take care of itself, I think, if you do what you're supposed to do, really.
Yeah. I was curious about this. How important or how much do you pay attention to body language of like the hitter coming up? Like, do you have I don't know. When I remember playing and like you're watching the pitcher, you're seeing how he's what his you can almost see an attitude a little bit. And then as hitter, do you ever, there's like the old adage about, oh, well, they're warming up. That's where they like the ball, right?
Yeah.
Do you look at like how that particular person at that particular bat, how they're reacting to things, or are you just trying to get the ball over the plate?
Yeah, I've gotten better about reading body language and that kind of thing. I'm by no means an expert at it, but nice thing is I had a couple catchers this year that probably are experts at it, who are very good at reading body language of the hitters and what they're trying to, what they're sitting on, what they're trying to accomplish with each pitch. And so I put a lot of trust in them, and they helped me out a lot this year. So, yeah, and that's, to some extent, like I just don't see a lot of it just because I'm focused on, you said
70-30, so 70%'s on you.
Yeah. And to be honest, it might even be more than that. Like it might be 80-20, but the 20, I think a lot of it, if there's a glaring hole, like these guys can't hit sinkers, this guy can't hit sinkers down and in, or he's going to chase in off the plate down and in against a sinker. Like, so I can expand that way with the sinker, which plays into my strengths, and then the, also within the 20%, it's, well, he's scooting up in the box or he's, off the plate, that kind of thing. And then, why is he doing that? And and that's stuff that I haven't really, gotten really good at. I've started to look for it, but I haven't gotten very good at it. And our catchers are a lot better at it than I am. So I put a lot of trust in them for it.
So you can get better at that.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I don't know how I would look at it, but I'm sure you look at hitter trends, if they're in a slump, they want to try to do something. So I don't know how that affects their at bat, whether they're just like, maybe I just need to get on base, or the best way out of slump is probably getting a hit. So are they going to chase something more if they've been struggling? Or do you look at, like, if guys are having personal issues that are in the news, is that going to affect how they can focus? I would be thinking about all that stuff, but I overthink everything.
Yeah. I think you can go down some rabbit holes with that stuff for sure.
Yeah.
I think the slump one is a good example, because you swing your way out of a slump.
Yeah.
So maybe they'll chase more.
Right.
Super common.
Are you thinking of that as a pitcher?
A little bit.
Okay.
I think more like runners in scoring position. Guys swing more. They chase more because they're trying to make something happen. That's another example of that. Yeah. Maybe and that stuff. Allows you to like expand the zone maybe a little bit more.
Yeah. Okay. I just started thinking of something else. God, what the hell? Oh, how often are they calling hit and runs these days? Like, how do you know?
Not super often.
Not very often.
No. You'll see it occasionally, and it's team based. You see it with some teams, some managers a lot more than others, and we'll get that in the scouting report too. But yeah, hit and runs, bunting, it doesn't happen a ton anymore, especially bunting for a hit.
No small ball type. Isn't that called small ball?
Yeah, it's not as common. Definitely as it used to be for me, because my high school team, we couldn't play. We wouldn't sniff the field if we couldn't lay a bunt down.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's just how our coach was. And,
yeah, just get on base.
And that's how Southern California high school baseball is too. So
yeah.
It was frustrating when I would go to LSU or when I went to Airforce or LSU, and I'm practicing with those guys. We're practicing hit and runs and bunts and that kind of thing, and these guys don't know how to lay down a bunt. I'm like, what are they doing in high school? And I just thought that was how everyone was, but I guess not everybody knows how to lay down a bunt or a hit and run. It's just go bang.
I was just curious because, hit and run, I didn't know if you could anticipate that coming. So then you're throwing, you don't want them to get the ball on the bat.
Yeah, it's super.
The bat on the ball.
It doesn't happen a ton.
Yeah.
With bunts, I think if you're anticipating it, like my high school coach would have us throw change ups when we knew they were bunting, because then you like stab at it.
Right.
If you think they're stealing, you can go pitch out. But I don't know if I threw a pitch out the entire year this year. So, that it's different for sure in the big leagues compared to like college for that.
I bet. Yeah. I didn't know. I haven't really been paying attention to see how often that's happening these days. I like it. I like a good hit and run though. When the runner gets going.
Yeah. No, it'll get a rally going for sure.
Scoring from first or something like that.
Those
it's
are tough
cool.
as a pitcher.
Yeah, I bet. Also, I was thinking, so as a pitcher, how would you have taken this? Because I remember I talked about Bonds back in the day coming in live, but I remember one time, I think, bases were loaded. They walked him intentionally.
Yeah.
How, as a pitcher, how would that have made you feel? They would have said, walk him.
Yeah, that would have been frustrating.
Because you're walking in a run.
Yeah.
And you don't even get a chance to compete, really.
Yeah, I mean, you're taking the bat out of his hands, which is...
You're not giving up 4 runs.
Yeah, you're definitely not giving up 4 runs. Or maybe you are. Who knows? Next guy could get a hit.
Yeah, you might give up 5 with the grand slam on the next one. But
yeah,
I was curious about, as an elite competitor, how that would have went over.
Yeah, I wouldn't like that very much. And we saw it. I think they did that to Trout a few years ago. And then I guess on another, like they did it with Judge, and I think they did it with somebody else this year where they intentionally walked in with nobody on. It might have been Judge twice. It was Judge, and then I think it was somebody else. But that would be pretty frustrating because at the very least, it's like, I can live with it. I gave up a home run or a double or whatever, or maybe you struck him out. Like, but there's some unknown there.
Yeah, I wonder. I mean, I don't know how that would affect. As a pitcher, you'd be like, I guess the manager doesn't believe in me. Doesn't believe I can get this guy out.
That would be a tough pill to swallow for sure. Yeah.
I mean, because he's basically choosing right there, you're not as good as this guy.
Yeah. And I would imagine there are probably some conversations that were had outside of the public eye with that kind of thing. But that's it's a choice.
How important is like, so you never want to show up your manager, like that body language or staying like not cussing under your breath. How often do you have to think about all that stuff, or getting upset at like somebody you're playing or a teammate? Is it hard to like never have a reaction?
Yeah. I mean, sometimes, and it's kind of,
because people take that, now they'll zoom in on everything.
Yeah.
Anybody
they see
says.
Everything.
Yeah.
And I think part of it is like, it's not, super my personality to do that.
Yeah.
There are some other guys who, and if I, you see guys like put their glove up to their mouth.
Yeah.
And, like,
cussing.
gee, I wonder what they're saying. And it's just like, hey bro, just say it. That's kind of how I see it. I'm just like, hey, say it. Like, who cares?
Yeah. I like to see that emotion.
Yeah. I think it's fun.
They care.
Yeah.
They care.
Yeah. No, you're not screaming in your glove if you don't care.
Right. Exactly. I just love competitors, but I just thought about this when you said put the glove up to your face. How often, and maybe you can't even talk about it. Maybe this is taboo too, but it used to be like people would have shit like rubbing their face, have the stuff on. I can't remember if it was pine tar. Is that still happening?
It might be. I don't know. They check our hands, gloves. Do they? Belt, hat, whatever.
Did somebody get in trouble this year for that?
I think it happens every year. It's tough because, especially, when it's humid or something, guys wear sunscreen still, like sunscreen's legal. But the line is so blurry with that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because you put rosin on and then sunscreen and rosin just gets sticky.
Yeah.
And then the umpire feels your hands and, oh yeah, that's too much. And
I see.
Even if you're not intentionally, and guys still intentionally do stuff to get an edge, I guess. And that's part of the game. But yeah, like if you have sunscreen on and it just happens to be sticky and they say, yeah, then you're getting tossed and you didn't even try to do anything, which is tough. Isn't
it weird how, and maybe football and everything's like this, because, they say like you could call holding on every play in football, right? But in baseball, like there's been an art to like getting an edge a little bit, whether it's that something to get a little more grip on the ball. I don't know. Oh, there's been all whatever who was it? Was it the Astros who were doing the trash can stuff?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like that's almost like part of the game. A
Yeah,
little
I
bit.
think so.
Is it?
Yeah, and you know, it's not you know, kind of where the game's at right now, and we don't, you know, we don't do finger signs anymore. It's just the pitch com. But
stealing signs was a thing.
Stealing signs, yeah, and that's like, you know, with the runner on second, they're relaying. You see it now with like pitch tipping. You know, guys relaying that kind of stuff. It's just part of the game.
Mm-hmm.
You can get pissed off and throw it at the hitter, I guess, but
So
know, they're still going to have your pitches.
Is a pitcher, if he's going to throw a slider, he does something.
Yeah, like he comes set differently in his glove or something like that. You know, his wrist angle, or he's not as far in or farther in to his glove, that kind of thing. And they see everything these days. Like, you know, got cameras and all that they can see a whole lot of stuff with, you know, the tiniest detail.
Yeah, because back in the day, like there was corked bats, like that. They would, you know, bats would break and then it'd be corking. I can't remember who, but and then I remember George Brett. He had his pine tar way up his bat.
Yeah,
I think hit a home or got thrown out or something like that.
Yeah,
but it just made me think that it's not cheating, but it's just like gamesmanship. It's like, what can you get away with? I don't know. It's just baseball's kind of cool that way. I think.
No, you always got to push the envelope with that kind of thing, I guess.
Yeah. It's interesting. But so on the, what'd you say? Tipping the pitches, but do you do the same thing every single time? Or do you ever intentionally like do something different knowing people are watching?
I do my best to do the same thing every time. And there are some guys who do things differently. They, you know, wave their glove or something like just differently every pitch that you can't see any tendencies or anything like that. Just change it up. And I kind of go the other way. I just try to do the same thing every time.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. I don't know. Pretty interesting. Those cameras have definitely, you know, if there is a tell, somebody's going to figure it out.
Somebody's going to find it. Yeah. And there's, you know, there's cameras, but there's also like, I don't even know what it is, and it can basically like motion capture, I guess, and it tracks everything where your body is, and then you can like overlay it on a computer system, and then it takes all the guesswork out of it to where they go into detail, and there, you know, there's money in picking pitches, you know, like the Moneyball thing. If you're trying to buy wins, that's
for sure,
you know, an easy way to buy wins.
Yeah. Yeah. So what's, this is all interesting. I didn't even plan on asking any of that stuff, but I was just thinking about the game is so detailed. You know, people say, and there's some people like maybe not baseball fans who watch baseball and be like, God, this is boring. But it's like, there's so much little gamesmanship going on and in games within the games with the pitch count or, anything, you know, an error or so much can affects the game. It just, I mean, I just love it.
Yeah.
I love all the detail to it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It seems different than other sports a little bit.
Yeah. And it probably is boring. It kind of bores me sometimes, I guess, if I'm watching the wrong game, but, yeah, it's, you know, there's a lot of detail and, you know, little things that go into winning baseball that, you know, that a lot of people don't pick up on, or they do. And then that's why they watch the game. And yeah, when you're in it, it's different than being, you know, watching it as a fan for sure.
Yeah. You know, it seems like it stayed the same. Correct me if I'm wrong, but NBA, it used to be like Jordan, Kobe, that was their team. They were on that team pretty much forever. I mean, I know Jordan went to the Wizards way late, but now it's like, the super teams they can assemble, get these stars and win a championship. Baseball still seems like you're pretty much on that team for quite a while. Is that how it is now? Or guys, there's no super teams being created. Is there really?
Yeah.
I guess maybe the Yankees, they always have, maybe they pay that, what is it? The luxury tax to sign all these guys.
Yeah. There are definitely teams that are willing to, you know, pay a lot more than others, but I think the gap is a lot smaller than the the money might indicate, just because like the talent levels are pretty comparable, I think. And not everybody is is the same, obviously. So but baseball is such a weird game too, that a AAA team might be able to beat the Yankees or something like that on any given day. Like it's just a weird game that there is a lot up to chance, and you're trying to hit a round ball with a round bat, and you're trying to hit it square, and some guys, you have 9 guys that have a bad game, you're losing that game. So there's a lot that goes into chance, and so I think it's different from basketball and football probably in that way, but it's just there's a lot that goes into it, and a lot of chance, and that kind of, and I don't want to call it luck or chance, but it's kind of it's different.
Yeah, it's it doesn't seem like the stars are moving around too much in baseball. I don't know, unless I'm not thinking of it right.
I think I don't know. I don't pay a whole lot of attention to basketball or football, but a rookie or a player's on a team for at least 6 years, basically, until they can get to free agency, and then free agencies, you can sign a 10-year deal, you can sign a 1-year deal, that kind of thing. So the moving around kind of happens, and then you can get traded at any point in there too. So, but I would agree. I don't think that I don't think guys move around as much.
Yeah, it didn't seem like it. I was just thinking about that. It's like, hopefully whatever franchise drafts you, they want a simple, like the best team also, and not just satisfied with just competing. But because I just don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Everybody wants to get to the World Series for sure. But it takes, I don't know how, I mean, what's the most important part to making like a World Series type contender? Do you think is it 5 quality starters?
I have no idea.
Or is it big bats?
Yeah.
Or
I have no idea.
Come on. You got to make the perfect team. You're the GM.
Well, no, I'm biased. Five really good starters for sure. But, no.
And then hit and run and bunts.
Exactly.
Yeah, win 1-0.
Occasional home run maybe, but I don't know. And you look at all the teams in the postseason right now. They have good starting pitching. They have a good lineup. And they have a good bullpen. And some have better bullpens than others. Some have better starting pitching than others, better lineups, that kind of thing. But you kind of got to be good at everything, I think. But again, I'm not a GM, and I've only been in this game for like 6 months.
I know.
There are definitely teams that you play throughout the year that are like, damn, this is a elite team. This team, they have a shot. And but I don't know what the secret sauce is.
Yeah, because I'm wondering, is it all money? Because if you look at a lot of teams that make it consistently to postseason are kind of the same. Seems like it's the same teams.
Yeah, and I think they call it windows. Like you have a window to win. Because teams are rebuilding and that kind of thing too.
Right.
Because just because of how the organization is built, I guess they're built on homegrown talent, or they're built on free agents or whatever. Yeah. But I think you do see a lot of the same teams that are constantly in the playoffs, and then there are other teams that are not very far off, like the Red Sox, the Blue Jays, like those kind of teams, like that. They're going to do what it takes to get in there, and so they'll probably be in there next year. And there are a lot of teams like that, but but there are a lot of teams that are constantly in it, and there's probably a reason for that.
Yeah, it's interesting. So, what's your goals? What's your goals for this coming season in your career?
Yeah, I mean, I got to be better than I was this past year.
Yeah.
That's what the off season is going to be geared toward, and spring training and everything. Just executing at a higher level than this past season, and I don't think that's necessarily going to show up in ERA or strikeout percentage or anything like that. But I think I'll know it, within myself, whether it was better or worse than this past season. But that's what everything's going to be geared toward.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that how much of that is physical compared to your mental approach? I mean, can you get better physically, but where's most of the growth going to happen? Mentally?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. And at this point, it's the 1% advantages. I think, like, diet and recovery and lifting and that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then, learning the hitters too, like on the mental side, just learning the hitters, figuring out what I need to do to execute more effectively against them. And so those growths are, going to happen. I'm going to do a deep dive into the past season at some point. I haven't done it yet, but, and really get a plan together for how I can get better. But, yeah, that's what it's going to look like. Just really try to elevate every single part of my game.
Mm-hmm.
If not by a lot, then by a little, but get better everywhere, I think.
Incremental gains in a bunch of different places, hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because we were talking about that even, I think, when I went to your game. It's like, even from the cleats, if you get more power transfer off your cleats into your delivery, I mean, it's like, who knows how much of that little bit could make a difference. But man, if from the ground up, if you could just improve, and then plus also have this approach, like we were talking about Greg Maddux earlier, and how he would, like, he didn't have the stuff like what you have as far as overpowering stuff, but man, he knew exactly what he wanted to do with each pitch, and knew the tendencies of each batter up there. But yeah, I mean, it seems like, what you could learn in that regard is almost unlimited.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know where the line would be. Like, okay, I'm wasting my time now, but it seems like, man, there's a lot of room for growth there.
Yeah. And there are, sometimes there's going to be a light bulb that goes off at some point, and, sometimes you're also just going to figure it out and maybe not even know you're figuring it out.
Yeah.
So it's, and there are some things that you can see, like, oh, this guy does this when he's in the box, and so look for that, and then I know he's looking for this pitch, like, so there's a lot of that, and you can figure out some of that when you're in the off season, but a lot of it, I think, is in real game action and getting around other people who have seen them and been around them, that kind of thing. So and then the game's always changing too. You look at catchers, over the past 10 years, in 2015, the catching style was very different than it is today. And that's because, people have found that there are more effective ways to receive pitches and get, steal strikes that and keep strikes, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that one's very obvious, I think, because, you're always watching the catcher, but you also see it in, field positioning or whatever it is. So the game in 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 30 years, it's going to be very different than how it is today. So just continuing to evolve on that end.
How much of success of a pitcher do you think is related to the catcher?
I think it depends on the guy. Because I've heard about, some catchers. Guys would talk about Austin Hedges, who was with the Pirates for I think last year. Yasmani Grandal, Joey Bart were my catchers this year, and they were really good for me. And I'm not gonna, if you ask them, they'll probably say that my success was because of them. But no, I'm just kidding. It definitely doesn't hurt to have a good catcher who sees that kind of thing. So and knows how to call the game. I think the goal is to be as self dependent, I guess. Like I don't need anything. from from the outside.
You're not relying on anybody else to succeed.
Yeah. I as little reliance on other people to where it's just, I'm going out there and I know myself, I know my game, I know them, but the nice part about having a good catcher is they make you better. So it's not like, a good catcher can make or break you. I don't think that's how it should be, but definitely doesn't help to have a good catcher.
Yeah. No, I was just thinking about this right now too, but if a catcher and the ump aren't getting along for whatever reason, it could affect your pitch calls, right? Or it's like how that ump is calling your pitches, and it'd be like, dude, what the fuck? Why are you fucking getting this guy on our bad side? Does that ever happen?
That's never happened to me.
Okay.
It might happen that, another cool thing or whatever, another thing about pro ball in general is you're going to see umpires a lot, and you see it's the same thing in college too. You're going to see umpires more than once. You're going to see them. I've thrown to a couple umpires multiple times this year, and so they know my stuff. But you're always around these guys, so hopefully there's no ill will between
the rapport is good.
Yeah, between the catchers and the umpires, because then they're screwing me. But I think that umpires are pretty professional. They're not going to hold grudges like that. And
they're playing. It's a delicate dance too, because if they're making good calls for you, the hitter's not happy.
Yeah.
So it's like
umpires, you're always gonna be pissing somebody off.
Yeah. Tough job.
Yeah. I don't know why anybody would want to be an umpire, but it's not. I'm never gonna be an umpire, but to each his own.
So this is in regard, we talked about, or I think earlier today, we talked about to be the best at whatever you do, you have to be a little crazy, maybe a little obsessive, obsessed, obsessive compulsive, maybe. I don't know how we talked about it earlier, but how important is it to be able to, can you overanalyze, and how important is it to be able to step away? Because in like reset, because I was thinking, that's one thing I like about archery is when you're shooting arrows, you can't really be thinking about anything else. Like when you're shooting your bow today, you're thinking about all the little things you need to do. It's like, how important is things like that to get away from thinking about the game too much? Do you do that intentionally, or are you pretty good at just turning it off?
Yeah, I need to get better at turning it off for sure. It's super common for guys to golf and baseball and probably other sports too, but just have an out, basically. Have something else to do. So who knows, maybe shooting the bow is going to be that for me. It was definitely fun, and I wasn't thinking about baseball while I was shooting. So,
yeah, exactly.
You see, and guys hunt in the off season too. That's kind of their out. So I think it's super important. And I'm still kind of searching for what that is for me. I'm not gonna start golfing or anything like that, but because guys have tried getting me into that, but it's just not for me. No, I think it's important, because then that helps you, get your attention to baseball when it's time to do that even more effectively.
Yeah, because I know I can overthink shit. If I'm, I don't know, I think about, I have no room for error, like when I'm hunting. So I can like overthink and put so much pressure on myself. So it's like sometimes I have to be intentional. And this also led me to another question I had for you. How much is like a sports psychologist, are guys using that in baseball, talking to somebody about just the mental approach to the game?
Yeah, I think a lot of guys have that. I don't think that everybody has that, but I think a lot of guys do. And just being able to clear your mind and that kind of thing, it's super, super valuable. Yeah, so that's not something that we we don't talk about it a ton, probably, because I think in the big leagues it's kind of just you have it or you don't.
Really?
A little bit. Like, you can compete and you kind of either have it or you don't, because those are conversations that we would have a lot when we were in high school, college, that kind of thing, and but it's not talked about a ton in pro ball. And so guys have their own individual, sports psychologists or whoever it is that they talk to, or coaches help with that kind of thing. But
the players don't talk about it amongst each other usually.
We'll talk about it a little bit, but it's not. We'll talk about like our coaches a lot more than that, or our physical, like our strength coaches or something like that. And so I've heard of some guys who've had that, and it, it's like, oh, well, what do you guys talk about? We don't talk about that a ton. But I think it's pretty common.
Are you, I thought of something else too. I watched this video or read something about you about, I think it was at Airforce, and it was something about, it was right after the withdrawal from Afghanistan, and something happened. It's like, to me, it reminded me that you seem like a leader, or lead by example, or how do you see yourself on a team environment? Do you want to be a leader? Is that your goal, or is that just how you've been when you compete? You just like, I don't know, you want to be the guy. How does that work? I know you, because I think you called people out in that situation. Can you tell me what happened? Yeah,
it was basically like, they at 4:45 every day at the Air Force Academy, you have the anthem gets played and they lowered the flag. So you're standing, if you're in uniform, you're standing, saluting. And if you're not in uniform, you're probably standing at attention, because that's kind of the right way to do it. So, and these guys were just kind of standing there, like, whatever, however it was. So
just half-ass.
Yeah. And so, went over there and said, hey, we got to clean it up, basically. And, whether they did or not, who knows?
Yeah.
But, I guess. And that was kind of more the mode I was in, more at Air Force for sure. Because I didn't know those people. Now it's kind of just like, who cares a little bit, but, how you, and obviously in a different position now than I was then, but, I think how you do anything is how you do everything. And, that's important, to live your life, kind of above the line, I guess, however you want to think about it.
Right. And, but in the major league so far, you're just kind of fitting in for right now. You're not like super vocal in the locker room, or how do you see yourself now?
It's just different. I don't think it's necessarily like just fitting in or not being super vocal. I think it's just different. And I think that's something I've tried to feel out this year. Because I've had a learning curve too in terms of what the big leagues is like. And,
right. You can't come in acting like you have it all figured out. In
guns blazing. Because you don't have everything figured out. So I've just been trying to learn as much as possible this past year. And, so maybe it looks different next year, maybe it doesn't, but, just going to show up and be myself, I think, really. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. It's, I love the success you've had. I love that you're so willing to come and do all this stuff with me. It's pretty amazing. I mean, I just know that with your mentality and like your hunger for growth and getting better, man, I'm pumped for next year for you for sure.
Yeah. And I appreciate you having me, because you're one of the guys that I follow probably more than anyone, who's not in the baseball or sports sphere. So, like I said, just being able to hear different opinions and, think differently, because you want to, be great. You got to think great. You want to be different, go against the grain. You got to think different. So, you've been really good. I've, read your book and followed you for a while. So, I'm glad we can make this work.
How'd you come across a bow hunter's book, or how'd you get it?
Just through the grapevine, I think. Like, because I think everybody in the world probably listens to Rogan.
Yeah.
So, and I've seen you on there, and liked what I saw. So I think I listened to your book on audiobook, I think, just as I was driving and working out, that kind of thing.
Thank you.
Great stories and, good stuff in there. So, but anything that can help me get better at what I do, I'm going to, explore it. So, and you've definitely helped.
Well, that's I know your future's bright because of that mindset. But how we always end the show is with your brand new Hoyt right here.
Yeah,
look
that's
at that
awesome.
thing, the Hoyt Highline, because this is for people with super long draw lengths, and your draw length is 32.5 inches, which is 5 inches longer than mine.
Nice.
And that means you have a lot more power because that arrow is on the string for 5 inches longer. But yeah, you shot this. I mean, dude, you were so accurate with this right out of the gate, which I think like just being an athlete, you follow instructions and you know there's a reason for doing pretty much everything. And Wayne gave you a few tips and man, you were laying them in there.
Yeah, it was
such
fun.
good shooting.
It was fun. And you guys were talking about shooting him 80, 120 yards, and I was shooting it at 20, and I felt like that was far. So
you did great.
Yeah, I'll play around with it a little bit, but yeah, this is awesome.
We're gonna get a bow hunt scheduled here at some point too. Once you get done dominating the major leagues.
Yeah, we got to plan that out. That'd be a blast.
Yeah, whenever you can make it happen. So, what's your off season? Is 3 weeks?
Yeah, pretty much.
So yeah, we got to make that happen one of these times. But yeah, it was, I mean, honor having you here. Thank you so much for coming to Oregon. I know you were here visiting Nike, but you still came down to Eugene here and hung out with me for the day, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate everything, brother.
Thank you. All right, keep hammering, guys.
Yes, sir.
Every step I take, I move my truth. Every time they tell me stop, I use. Every comment, hate that makes my feel. Gather up my energy and boom. I hear them talking, saying the way that I move is so reckless. That is a part of my mind I've been blessed with. Giving my blood, so I am relentless. My fault, they want someone to blame. They sent their hate, it fuels my pace. I am Roy Tough, I am the change, the fuel in dirt. Feeling like Cam Haines. Oh, give me the Mars, nobody wants